Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Starcraft 2 Best of the Best. I am your host, the vocal terrorist, Jesse Rean, and you are watching VaporGame right here on YouTube. So, episode 2 of Best of the Best. I'm starting to get into this. Last week we saw TSL Pole absolutely smash Stefano in a brilliant 20-minute game using his aggressive style. Today, in keeping with the tradition of watching Stefano get absolutely smashed in the mid-game, we are going to be looking at a green Protoss player called Grubby. Any of you who follow me over at VocterGaming will know of my love for Grubby. Absolutely brilliant Protoss, one of the best players around today, which of course is why he is being featured right here on Best of the Best. I should start my stopwatch because we have at 15 minutes max, because after this I'm going to eat a sausage sandwich and go watch the Avengers film. I am so pumped, guys, like you would not believe. So of course we have Grubby versus Stefano, and we are going to times 8. Because we want to get to the early mid-game. Now we're going to see Grubby expand first and then drop a Forge. Perfectly standard and safe against a Zerg player. Stefano is expanding as well, of course, being a Zerg player needs those bases. One thing Grubby did do was plant the Nexus before the Forge. Slightly unsafe if your opponent wants to put on some early aggression, but of course here was absolutely safe and is better economically. So, nothing out of the ordinary so far for either player. Stefano takes his third base at the normal timing, and we have more gateways going down, gateway after gateway, and a robo being added. Now, a warp prism is coming out of this, and here is where things get interesting. We're going to knock this down to times 2 right now. And do you know what we're going to do? We are going to watch this warp prism. This is what I'm talking about. You should hit around the 9-minute mark on daybreak. Here he is, in fact, going to warp into Zealots. Quite often you go in with just sentries, but this is something Grubby does a lot. So because of that warp in, he does have to wait. And now we are going to drop down to just normal speed. Now, here's what's interesting. You drop 2 sentries and 2 zealots into the main. And look at this. It is force fielded. You force field the ramp. No units can get up there right now. And what is this? We have no units to defend in the main base whatsoever. We have a spire going down. We have no spine crawlers. And of course, warping more sentries in means these roaches cannot get into the main. Lovely pickup there of those sentries. Saves them because you need to keep them alive. And you've just used the zealots to continually kill units. I want to pause right here. Look at the units Stefano has. Stefano has 3 zerglings, 7 roaches, and 3 queens. What's in the base? Just 1 roach and a couple of lings just died. That's it. This takes advantage of a completely unique playstyle to Zerg, which is the fact that your main structures are your unit producing structures as well. So once you get in and force field this ramp, you have 2 structures here producing units, none of which can get into the main base. So if we start to play it again, we will see how well this works. Of course the roaches can hit those sentries, but so long as you keep warping in sentries, they will keep having the energy to drop force fields. And look at that, perfect timing there. So drones coming out again, now trying to kill off these sentries, but he's warping more and more in with every single cycle. Drops another force field. That is so good. Just needs to be careful of these zealots. Now we're going to look at the drones killed up. We're at 10, now 11 workers killed for Grubby. This is such a brilliant strategy. You get to kill so much, you force Stefano to make units that he can't use right now. And you really take away his advantage for being on 3 bases. What this in fact does is hurt him for being on 3 bases because he has less units already in his main. He has no defensive structures. Grubby has now seen every single bit of tech he's after. No Hydroden here now. No Spire here now. All these things are having to be relocated or rebuilt, none of which he's doing right now because he's having to focus everything on killing this attack. Finally, the last of the zealots in this base will die, but more sentries here. Continually force fielding. Look at that. We're now at 11.5 minutes. That is 2.5 minutes of pressure that Stefano has been able to do absolutely nothing about. The spawning pool could well die at this point, but no. Look at that. Finally, all the force fields run out. The roach is coming to the base. Grubby picks up and just leaves. Look at that. 3 full minutes of pressure. And Stefano could do nothing about it. That is so much wasted mining time. So many units lost. Look at this. 23 workers killed for Grubby. Do you know how good that is against a 3-base Zerg? You forced him to stop droning up. You forced him to stop mining in his main. And you killed 23 drones. If we look at the production tab now, Stefano's adding a 4th hatchery. He's not rebuilding any drones yet. He's having to rebuild the Hydra Den. He's not rebuilding his Spire so far. Oh, sorry, he did rebuild his Spire. Forced him to rebuild the Spire. And now Grubby adds a 3rd base at the timing where Stefano's adding a 4th. Grubby, this mid-game pressure, or early mid-game, this 9 minutes to 12-minute pressure is just absolutely incredible. It's so strong against a really good macro player and against Stefano, one of the best Zergs in the world after Dongray Gu. Like, this guy is no slouch, and you can see he's now absolutely terrified of this Warp Prism coming back in. So he's leaving roaches in his main base that could be out on the map, could be pressuring. Now we're just going to look quickly at the way Grubby transitions out of this. He of course adds the 3rd base. So that finishes up while Stefano is using all of his money on units, not adding more drones. So if we go to the unit tab, we have 77 drones, which is about what he wants. Normally you'd want about 90 to 100 drones at this point. You want to drone up heavily and then start making units. Cut drones to make units. Stefano's going to pressure up, but look at this. Look at the amount of immortals he has. Because what Grubby did was, he forced roaches and hydras, and the immortals, of course, so good against those. However, he does get out of position here. Now, spoiler alert, this game goes, as you can see over here, nearly 40 minutes long, and Grubby does, in fact, lose it. That is through no fault of his own. Stefano is brilliant. But that mid-game pressure gave him such an advantage. Now, this is the real thing. You need to be able to defend this 3rd base. If Grubby had kept up this 3rd base, he would have been in such a strong position. Now, his real problem is he didn't have things like Colossi and Archons out at that point. And really you should do. While you're putting that pressure on, you should either be expanding slightly earlier while the pressure is going on, or you should be teching into Archons for me. Archons so strong against Zerg, especially against the Hydras that he knew were coming because he saw the Hydra Den. He did force the cancel on it. Anyway, that will absolutely do. We're just going to skip forward to the 28-minute mark because I want to show you this, guys. Now, we are going to pause it right here. I want you to look at this game. This is nothing to do with analysis. This is just because I'm excited. We're done with the analysis. We saw Grubby's really strong mid-game. But look at this. We have Stefano taking every single base on the map. This, so far, the only base untaken. Every other base taken on the map. And, excuse me, I don't have a lot of time. I really do need to get going. I just want to talk about how good Daybreak is just for a second. I'm going to let this run. We're going to knock it up to ×4. Daybreak is such a good macro map. It is, in fact, my favourite map in the world right now. Now, Grubby, with some really nice pressure, did actually stop Stefano from taking that final base there. Oh my god, guys. I cannot stress to you just how good this game is. By the way, you really should watch it. If you want to watch this game, you can actually go to www.sc2rep.com. You can download this replay right now, and it is so worth watching as both Protoss and Zerg. Stefano's reaction, of course, so good to deny Grubby that 3rd. And in fact, we're going to pause it. We're going to go back. We're at the 60-minute mark now, right? I want to talk to you about this attack. I have just 2 more minutes to go on about it. We're going to knock it down to normal speed. Watch as the Hydras and Roaches come in here. Now, Grubby's got his army in position, but there is no AoE damage here. Now, look at this concave here. Look at this. Every single Hydra, pretty much apart from the back row, is able to fire should Grubby get near. Grubby, meanwhile, has to fight around his own buildings. I don't have the ability to put it in words. How good this is from Stefano. Attacking from this angle, coming up against this back here, means anytime Grubby, in fact, we'll just go back, because I want to watch Grubby's units, okay? Watch Grubby's army here, yeah? See as they move up here. See now, they try and get through this small choke point there. That doesn't work. because of course it feeds right into this huge concave of Hydras. He blinks around the building, but again he's trying to build cannons that just get in the way. All these Zealots struggle to get around. He's got Zealots trapped in the back. There is no way he can fight this army. Such a good reaction from Stefano. And this move here is what wins Stefano the game. We're at 16.5 minutes. The game goes on for 40 minutes, but this right here won Stefano the game. Delaying this expansion from Grubby allowed Stefano to get, once again, into a dominant position after all the early mid-game pressure we saw from Grubby. Anyway, that is it for StarCraft 2 Best of the Best. I, of course, will be back next week. I will be gushing about the Avengers film, no doubt. You can also find me over at my own channel, www.youtube.com/VocterGaming, if you miss my gorgeous, gorgeous voice. I'm there every week, Tuesday through Friday, and I am on VaporGame every single Friday. Want a big shout out to our CEO, Ali, for signing me up to this service. And I want to thank every last one of you for watching. I have been your host, the vocal terrorist Jesse Rean. This is StarCraft 2 Best of the Best, and I'll see you all next week. Have a really good week. I sincerely mean that, guys.